Nam yo ho ning ge ko 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 nam yo ho ning ge.
Hi, I'm Margaret, and this is the website where we take Buddhist philosophy and practice and apply them to the problems of everyday life. In the May 15th World Tribune, there's an article, "How can I bring people together when they seem so divided?" This is such an important question for today. It's not just a question in the United States, it's a question for countries all around the world. So I thought our topic should be today, how can we help bring people together? As we know from history, both Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King believed and used love and nonviolence as a powerful and effective social force for collective transformation. Gandhi led the successful campaign for India's independence from British rule. He said there should be no impatience, no barbarity, no insolence, and no undue pressure. He used nonviolence, passive resistance, non-cooperation, and the willingness to endure suffering as a means to an end. He demonstrated that refusing to fight arms the individual with moral power. The hope is to win the opponent to friendship in this manner. In the United States, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. picked up Gandhi's teachings in the 60s and used nonviolence, passive resistance, and the willingness to endure suffering to address the basic racial inequalities in the United States. Through refusing to fight back, he clearly exposed for the world to see the racist attitudes of the Southern communities, which are acted out violently by the police to try and quash the peaceful demonstrations. I saw that hatred firsthand when I went to Selma, Alabama, to start the march from Selma to Montgomery. We're seeing this again today in the mostly peaceful protests against the violence perpetrated against George Floyd. Once again, we've seen the power structure come out with guns, tear gas, and the military to try and stop the protests. I think one of the most moving moments was when the protesters in Washington sang to President Trump, "We are all in this together." But moral authority cannot be achieved when we have groups of people who want to loot and destroy, no matter what the rage. That undercuts the message the peaceful protesters are trying to send. We're seeing that when enough people protest, there's a real possibility of change, and we'll see how far these changes can go. But what about each of us? How do we use our Buddhist practice, which teaches nonviolence, that every living being has a Buddha nature, and that we're all one in the depths of life? So how do we respond when we're faced with the inequalities of our time? Vincent Harding, who was a leading historian and confidant to Martin Luther King Jr., quoted Dr. King in a dialogue with President Ikeda. Quote, "We're not called upon to like the enemy, we're called upon to love the enemy." How can we do that when every instinct says to fight the enemy? Bodhisattva, never disparaging, demonstrated a way of doing it for his time. He just simply recognized the divinity in each person, in their Buddha nature, teaching the people of his time that they all possess the Buddha nature. Vincent Harding went on to say that love is seeking the best for the other, helping them to discover who he or she is meant to be. This may end up having to show them their wrong thoughts and actions to prevent future misfortune for them. Passive resistance and nonviolence are ways of demonstrating these to the enemy and to the world. It's the form of compassion, although it be a hard one, and hopefully it will create a situation in which enemies can become brothers and sisters and new kinds of relationships can be established. Ikeda would say that nonviolent action is the struggle to elicit virtue and an awakening in the heart of the adversary. When we transform our spiritual state, then we can transform our opponent through our own human revolution. Gandhi, Dr. King, and Bodhisattva Never Disparaging all used nonviolence to address the issues of their times. Now it's our time. I think we're all called upon to examine how we will respond. Through deep reflection in front of the Gohonzon, we might answer some of these following questions. Do I remain silent, or do I stand up when I see racism or mistreatment of another? How do I handle myself in my personal relationships, in political discussions with an opponent, as an employer, or as a parent? Do I try to create unity, or do I create disunity? Am I trying to control my significant others, trying to get something from them? Or am I seeking the best for them? How do I treat others? Do I respect their Buddha nature, or do I do things that would denigrate it? What can I do in my area of influence to support the dignity of human life? Do I seek personal happiness at the exclusion and expense of others, or by compassion that's concerned with both my others and my welfare? Do I refuse to build my happiness on the misfortune of others? Do I see that what's done to one can be done to all, or do I see other people as unconnected to me? These are difficult questions, but I think we each need to determine to the best of our ability whether we're contributing to the problem or we're a part of the solution. In summary, looking at the events going on in the United States, we examined how Gandhi, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Bodhisattva Never Disparaging were each a stand for human rights in their time. Human rights are under siege in many countries around the world in our time, as well as in the United States. And we must ask ourselves, am I using my Buddhist practice to self-reflect on whether I'm a stand for human rights or whether there's room for improvement in me? Here are some URLs that you might find related. Did you know that your life is your curriculum? Know how to use troubles to nourish your growth? Faith slipped, 6 ways to get back on track. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in my life. I have loved doing this vlog and interacting with all of you. I've done a great deal of study in our Buddhist tradition about what helps and what hinders successful goal outcomes. I discovered that the literature gives hints in certain directions, but doesn't really develop the discussion. Because I'm fascinated by what helps and hinders people from being successful in their lives, I wanted to explore the topic further outside the Buddhist tradition. This has led me to become certified as a Dream Builder life coach, and I have now started a business as a life coach, working with people to help them create lives that they would truly love living. Due to this additional responsibility, I'm going to reduce the number of videos for this vlog to 1 a month, on the first Thursday of the month. I hope to remain in contact with all of you and continue to want to hear from you, your questions and what you'd like to hear about. I'll see you on the first Thursday of the month.